AWS EC2 is a web service that provides compute capacity in the cloud, and it's designed to make web-scale computing easier for developers. Next, we're going to discuss the primary EC2 concepts that you need to understand before launching an EC2 instance in the cloud. First, we need to understand the various instance types, then the two different root device types. Next up is the Amazon machine image, which plays a huge role, and finally, the different purchase options. An EC2 instance type defines the processor, memory, and storage type that are available to any server that is launched with that instance type. One thing to note is that although the instance type is chosen upon launch, it is possible to change the instance type once an EC2 instance has been deployed. But this change will be disruptive, as you must first stop the instance, change the instance type, and then restart the instance. Additionally, as we saw in the definition, there are various configuration options available, and as such, the instance type selected will influence the pricing. Currently, there are over 275 instance types available in AWS, and these can be grouped into the following categories. General purpose instances typically provide the right amount of processing power for a wide variety of use cases, while compute optimized instances are ideal for intensive computing use cases such as scientific modeling, data transcoding, dedicated gaming servers, or high performance web servers. Memory optimized instances run workloads that are memory intensive. Big data processing clusters often take advantage of storage optimized instance types, while graphic intensive applications such as those used to transcode 4K UHD resolutions typically take advantage of accelerated computing. Large complex simulations and deep learning workloads are ideal use cases for high performance computing. Just know that depending on your particular use case, these different categories of instance types will definitely help narrow down the selections for ensuring that you have the capability that you need. And we will explore these different instance types inside of the console during an upcoming lesson, so don't worry, it's definitely going to start to click. Now moving on to root device types. EC2 instances can be launched using either instance store volumes or elastic block store as the root volume. An instance store is ephemeral storage that provides temporary block level storage for your instance. Instance store is ideal for temporary storage like buffers, cache, and other temporary content. Inside of a computer, you have what's called random access memory, better yet referred to as RAM. Think of this as the equivalent of instance store volume, because just like the RAM inside of your computer, the data on an instance store volume persists only during the life of the associated instance, meaning if an instance is stopped or terminated, any data residing on that instance store volume would be lost. An EBS-backed instance means that the root device for an instance launched from the AMI is on an EBS volume, which is typically created from an EBS snapshot. An EBS volume behaves just like a raw, unformatted external block device, similar to a portable network attached storage that you may have seen, which most people call an external hard drive. These volumes persist independently from the running life of an instance, which means that these volumes can be detached from one instance and attached to another. They can also be created as an encrypted volume using EBS encryption feature, and you can have backups for EBS by creating snapshots, which is not possible with instance store. One other thing to note is that typically when you launch an EC2 instance from an EBS-backed an EBS-backed instance will launch successfully within just under a minute, while instance-based EC2s typically take around 5 minutes to launch. So just keep that in mind. Now let's take a look at Amazon Machine Images, or AMIs. An AMI is a template for an EC2 instance that includes the data, the operating system, and the configuration that would actually go on that specific instance. AWS provides many different AMIs that you can leverage, and we will see these in the AWS Marketplace in the very next lesson. Additionally, there are several commercial AMIs and community AMIs within the Marketplace. You yourself can create an AMI and make it public and it will then become a part of this large set of community AMIs. Custom AMIs can be shared between AWS accounts, and before launching AMIs, they must first be registered. This is a step that previously had to be done with each and every new AMI used in an AWS account, but recently, AWS incorporated a way that allowed them to transparently take care of this on the back end. But there are still a few AMIs that you must register yourself prior to using them. And later in this module, we'll take a look at one of those examples. The final thing that we want to discuss this lesson before taking a tour of the AWS Marketplace is pricing. Amazon EC2 offers 4 paid pricing tiers and a free trial tier. The free trial tier requires you to use only AWS microinstances with no more than 750 hours of Linux or Windows T2 micro instance size. And again, we'll see that in action in just a little bit as well. Now, if you're using a paid instance, AWS updates their prices very frequently, so you'll need to keep checking back with them. But as of this moment, this is how Amazon's EC2 pricing works. On-demand instance allows you to scale up or down your compute resources according to your application needs. You pay by the hour or by the second, so you're not bound by a usage threshold. Just keep in mind that EC2 instances are always running, so until you end them, AWS will continue to charge you per hour or per second. This pricing option might be suitable if you have applications that use an unpredictable amount of resources and at different times. Spot instances let EC2 customers access Amazon EC2 spare capacity for up to 1/10 of the on-demand instant price. Prices depend on how many unused instances there are in inventory. They're also usually available during off-peak hours, so you need to run your instances at this time to take advantage. To give you an idea of what this concept means, let's say that you only wanted to pay 5 cents an hour and you wanted it to be an M5 X large instance. Well, if you put that as your maximum spot price, you would be able to use the capacity for your instance if there was available capacity at that price for that instance type. But as soon as the price raises back above 5 cents, if you weren't willing to adjust your spot price by increasing it, AWS would actually take back that instance within a 2-minute notice. Now, you can choose to pause your instance and resume your work later when you either had another spot price that met or was lower than your reserve. So you can kind of think of this option as bidding for that capacity. Choosing the Amazon savings plan, you can commit to a specific monthly spend instead of an instance family. You can also use the savings plan you commit to with other instances on AWS, such as Lambda functions or Fargate. Dedicated hosts provide you a dedicated EC2 server. Here, the physical EC2 server is dedicated to your use. You can purchase the plan on demand, or you can buy it as a reservation for up to 70% off the price of the on-demand plan. If you're concerned about maintaining compliance or your organization mandates that your servers be segregated from other tenants, then this could be the best plan for you. Similar to savings plan, there's also a reserve instance. With the all upfront option, you pay for the entire reserve instance term with one upfront payment. This option provides you with the largest discount compared to on-demand instance pricing. With partial upfront option, you make a low upfront payment and you're charged a discounted hourly rate for the instance for the duration of the reserve instance term. The no upfront option does not require any upfront payment, and it provides a discounted hourly rate for the duration of the term. AWS recommends saving plans over reserve instances, and like reserve instances, saving plans, of course, offer lower prices. However, saving plans afford you the flexibility to change your usage as your needs evolve. Definitely be sure to check out the reference links to get a clear picture on the particulars of each purchase option, as we provided a very high-level overview here. But to bring these ideas together, let's take a look at the AWS Marketplace. AWS Marketplace is a buyer and seller's online shop with a digital catalog that enables a user to buy and sell software that runs on Amazon Web Services. Customers can quickly launch pre-configured software and choose software solutions in Amazon machine images. Here we see a link for sellers. This is the place to go to find out more information on the process that it takes to get your software inside of the marketplace. The same holds true for AWS partners. Software sold inside the AWS Marketplace covers a range of categories, including but not limited to operating systems, security, networking, storage, business intelligence, databases, DevOps, and software as a service subscriptions. Now let's take a quick look at all the products. Here we see that there are over 10,000 products available in the marketplace, including a variety of products, some from AWS, others from vendors, but there's a lot of variety to suit the needs of each individual customer. Many products offer a free trial where you can evaluate their product before making a purchasing decision. There are also different operating systems that these platforms are built on, to include Windows and Linux. And recently, AWS even added a Mac OS image, and we'll see that when we launch a few EC2 instances in an upcoming lesson. But let's filter the results that we see here to just show us the AMIs. And you can see that there's almost 7,000 AMIs listed. We will be deploying Amazon's Linux AMI as well as a Windows Server AMI, so get familiar with seeing these logos in the EC2 section of the console. But if we keep scrolling, we see that Palo Alto offers a free trial of this next generation firewall bundle. So let's click on it and take a look. Right off the bat, we see that we get a lot of information about this product from the vendor, including the total price, which if you look closer, it's for an M5 2x large instance size deployed in the US East Northern Virginia region. We'll see here shortly how the same AMI deployed in a different region with the exact same size will oftentimes have a different price. This button that says continue to subscribe is where in the previous lesson where we discussed how the first product from each vendor must be registered in your account prior to using it. If AWS were not to take care of this for you, where this link takes you to when you click on it would be where you'd be required to register it. Scrolling down, we see that Palo Alto provides a bit more information about the difference between the various bundles that we have as AMIs for their next generation firewall products. Depending on your requirements, this is part of how you as a cloud professional, when you do your research on a solution, you can begin to narrow down the options that you can provide your client. Now, pricing is typically one of the most important criteria when making a decision. And unfortunately, I've seen personally where decision makers base their decisions based solely on which product could perform the required functions, but came in at the lowest price. So keep that in mind. But in this section, we see a price of $1.84 an hour to use the Bundle 2 software at the M5 2x large instance size and an infrastructure cost of a little bit more than 38 cents an hour, which is the cost to run this software inside of AWS. And if we scroll down here, we see that the instance size with the star represents the vendor recommended instance type. And so adding these two amounts together is how we come up with the $2.22 an hour figure for the total cost to deploy this AMI in the US East region. And we see the specifications for memory, compute, storage, and network by hovering over it. This AMI is available to evaluate for free for 15 days, after which, if not terminated, it will automatically convert to a paid subscription. So always be aware of the terms and conditions when deploying an instance, even if it says free tier. Many times you will be asked as a cloud professional to provide figures for how much a solution will cost. Sometimes a client will want to know what's the cost per hour, per month, per year, and sometimes for 3 years so that they can make budgeting and planning decisions for their organization. This is where the savings plan and reserve instant options come into play. You can provide your customer a significant discount for their solution if they were to make a long-term commitment to use the product inside of AWS. For the vendor recommended instance here, we see that we can receive a 15% annual discount if we elect to commit to 1 year with this product. Hovering over different instance sizes, we see that it will be possible to significantly reduce the cost if we were to elect another size. But as a cloud professional, remember, we always have to ensure that the change in an instance size does not negatively affect the architecture of our design. But regardless of which size you choose, Be aware that AWS handles all billing and payments, and the charges appear on the customer's AWS bill. If we take a peek at the annual cost for an M5 large, in the US East region, we see that it's a little bit over 9.5 cents per hour. But in the Asia Pacific region, more specifically in Seoul, Korea, this same size is almost 12 cents an hour. So when gathering customer requirements, also be sure to not make a guess on what region they wish to deploy their infrastructure in, as the price may be different based on that one key piece of information. The usage information section provides us with information on connecting to the AMI once deployed, and different AMIs by different vendors will have very different default credentials. And of course, always be sure to read the end user license agreement and be sure to reach out to support for any questions or concerns.